Hey guys, let's talk about Alexandria Christine Suleski. Alexandria was born on November 26, 1983, and she's been missing since October 26, 1989 from Radcliffe, Kentucky. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5 years old, 2 feet 9 and 40 pounds. She's biracial, Asian and Caucasian. She has black hair and brown eyes. Her nickname is Alex. She is of Korean descent and spoke Korean and broken English at the time of her disappearance. Alexandria was last seen playing outside of her family's residence at the Duval Mobile Home Park on South Wilson Road, near the 1100 block of Dixie Highway in Radcliffe, Kentucky, at 2 p.m. on October 23, 1989. She's never been seen again. Authorities initially believed she had either been abducted or had wandered off and fallen into one of the many area's sinkholes. In April 1990, Alexandria's father and stepmother, Thomas and Roxanne Suleski, were arrested for child abduction and violating a custody order in connection with Alexandria and her 9-year-old sister, Dawn. The girls' mother in California, Thomas's ex-wife, had custody of them. Thomas was allowed visitation under the condition that children have no contact with their stepmother. In August 1989, Thomas had picked up Alexandria and Dawn at their mother's home. He was supposed to take them on a vacation, but he never returned them. Instead, he moved to Kentucky with the children, Roxanne, and her 12-year-old daughter, Nissa Bruno. The charges against the couple were later dropped for lack of evidence, but in 1993, Thomas and Roxanne were charged with making false statements about Alexandria's disappearance. They were later charged with abusing, kidnapping, and murdering the child. Nissa testified that her stepsister was regularly abused by Roxanne prior to her 1989 disappearance. Alexandria frequently soiled herself, which enraged Roxanne. Once, in response to one of the child's accidents, Roxanne severely beat Alexandria with a belt, forced her to stand in the corner in her underwear all night long without a break or any food, and forced Nissa and Dawn to hit her with the belt as well. Then she forced Alexandria to eat jalapeno peppers. Nissa stated that the day before Alexandria disappeared, in response to her toileting accidents, Roxanne forced the child to sit inside a plastic trash bag and a box all day. When Alexandria soiled herself again inside the bag and the smell became offensive, Roxanne covered her and the first bag with a second bag and tied it. Nissa heard gasping sounds coming from the bag. Alexandria stayed in the bag all day while her sisters were at school. When Nissa came home from school, but before Dawn came home, Roxanne said Alexandria wasn't breathing. She called her husband home from work. Thomas and Roxanne didn't call 911. Instead, they put the child's body in a box, buried it in the woods in Otter Creek Park in Meade County, Kentucky, and told everyone that Alexandria had wandered away while playing. They made Nissa go along with the story. Nissa didn't tell anyone the truth about her stepsister's death until she was 16 years old. She first told Dawn, then her biological father, who notified authorities. Nissa spoke to her stepfather about Alexandria's death while wearing a recording device. On the recording, Thomas stated he'd gone back to the place where he'd buried Alexandria and crushed her bones to powder. Thomas and Roxanne maintained their innocence, but were convicted of all charges in 1994 and sentenced to life with no chance of parole for 25 years. They could have gotten the death penalty. The Suleski's defense attorneys petitioned the court to set their sentences aside in early 2001, but the requests were denied. When the Suleskis came up for parole in 2018, Nissa testified she was afraid Roxanne would harm her if she was released. Roxanne waived her parole hearing and agreed to serve her full life sentence in prison. Thomas went before the board admitting he'd been, quote, stupid and weak, unquote, but saying he had no role in his daughter's death and only helped Roxanne hide the body. He was denied parole and won't be considered again until 2028. Alexandria has never been located. Her case continues to be listed as a non-family abduction with many missing children's agencies. If you have any information, please call the Radcliffe Police Department at 502-351-5147.